Let's make a desktop jungle paludarium for some super cool crabs. These are vampire crabs, one of the most unique and beautiful crabs that you can keep as a pet. Today, we're making a jungle-style tank with land areas, an aquatic pool, tons of plants, a flowing waterfall, and an auto-misting system.
Vampire crabs are one of the coolest semi-terrestrial crabs that you can keep. They only grow about 1 to 1.5 inches across, need both land and water, and come in stunning colors: deep purples, bright orange eyes, and sometimes even blues. They're nocturnal, they love to hide, and they will explore every inch of their setup. Our clients contacted us asking if we can make them a small bioactive tank for these guys, and we were thrilled to get started.
We're using a Zilla brand 12x12x18 glass enclosure. It and all our other materials are linked in the description. If you want to follow along, using our affiliate links is a great way to help support the channel.
We have trust issues, so the first thing we did is reinforce the silicone seal on the water area. We're using black aquarium safe silicone to do this. We run a bead along all the seams, then smooth it out with our finger, careful to not get it on the front glass.
We want a beautiful flowing waterfall, so we're going to need to build an aquarium pump into this build. We're going to construct a compartment to contain the pump and allow for easy access if it ever needs to be maintained or replaced. We're going to use black foam sheets for this.
We first cut a rectangle of the foam out. The short side of the rectangle should be slightly larger than twice the width of the aquarium pump, and the tall side should have a height equal to that of our tank. Halfway along the short side of this rectangle, we score a straight line vertically across the foam with an X-Acto knife. By snapping the foam along this cut, we can make a 90-degree bend. This fits the corner of our tank and creates a box to hold our aquarium pump.
Next, we cut a hole at the bottom of our pump compartment for water to flow in, and cut a hole at the top for the waterfall hose to stick through. We want the waterfall to start in the back left corner, so let's start by putting the pump there. To prevent any debris from getting sucked up by the pump, we glue a piece of sponge over the hole at the bottom. Next, we attach some aquarium tubing to the pump, fed it through the hole we poked in our pump compartment, and placed our pump compartment into its final resting place, held in place with a couple dabs of hot glue. Now we can trim the aquarium tubing to the appropriate length.
We want the waterfall to go downwards and not spray all over the glass, so we attach a 90-degree angle joint to point the flow straight down.
To create a removable lid for the top of this compartment, we cut out another square piece of sponge. Now, this compartment is sealed off, but easily accessible if the pump ever breaks or if we want to adjust the flow. Now we should be ready for a waterfall test. Let's turn it on and see how our pump works.
That looks good. So now we can permanently seal this compartment in place with some more silicone. And with that done, it's on to the waterfall. We're using pieces of cork bark to create several levels for our water to flow down. We're going to glue these down in the corner, with each descending level being slightly wider than the last. We're just thinking about the general structure of the waterfall for now and not worrying about any gaps, since we'll fill them in later.
With the waterfall sketched out, we can add some additional hardscape in the form of ghostwood sticks and cork bark flats and logs. We silicone the hardscape in place with black aquarium safe silicone. We want to bridge the land and water areas and create little caves and hiding spaces. Vampire crabs are shy and they like to burrow or hide during the day, so giving them options both above and below the waterline really helps them feel secure.
We broke up pieces of cork bark logs and attached them together to look like a branch had fallen into the water. This will be a great underwater refuge for the crabs and any other aquatic critters that end up getting added.
To leave them with maximum room, we're going to use the entire bottom of the tank for an aquatic pool. For the vampire crabs, we'll need to create several elevated pockets of soil. We hot glued in some plant pots along the walls, and these are going to be filled with substrate, which will allow us to grow plants and provide ample areas for the vampire crabs to hide and burrow. We had the idea of using some ghostwood scraps to look like the roots or branches of a tree spreading out from the upper right. This is going to give us some depth to our tank and give great places for moss to grow.
We also added some lava rock below the waterline for some more interesting aquatic hardscape. And now we're going to add some additional texture to the walls. Today we're using carbonized cork. These are pieces of cork board made from loose cork scraps that have been fused together with heat. Make sure to use heat-treated ones, since the chemically treated ones aren't always pet safe. We used 2-inch thick slabs of carbonized cork and broke them up into many smaller 3D textured pieces.
we're going to be siliconing these smaller pieces to the tank walls. These will provide interesting and natural textures and a great growing medium for mosses and plants. Any gaps between them we can fill in with spray foam later. As we went, we sprinkled in some more bits of ghost wood to really give the impression of branches winding in and out of the walls on that right side.
With the walls covered, this is already looking pretty good. We're going to use our black pond and stone expanding foam to really lock in some of the hardscape in place and fill in the gaps in places like our waterfall.
We let the spray foam cure for 5 hours, then peel away pieces with our fingers and an X-Acto knife to give it a rough and rocky texture. We also hacked up the cork log that was beneath the water so that there was a hole at the front that we could peek through and critters could swim or crawl in and out of it.
On the exposed pieces of spray foam, we applied a thick layer of silicone, working it in with our fingers. Then, while the silicone was still wet, we patted it down with some substrate to give our foam an earthy texture. At this point, our hardscape is looking pretty good, so let's see if that waterfall flows how we would want it to. Okay, yay! It flows amazing! The water pools in these little levels and spreads to water the surrounding branches and cork, dripping down to the pool below. This will be a great supply of moisture to moss and plants.
We're going to take the tank outside and give it a thorough rinsing. Carbonized cork is heat treated, so it's often coated with a thin layer of ash that comes right off with a wash. We hosed it down for about 5 minutes until the water ran clear.
Next up, we want to black out the back walls of the tank. This stops excess light from coming in and gives the crevices and places that we couldn't necessarily reach a really deep and dark look. This gives us some contrast between the well-illuminated spots and gives added interest, depth, and mystery. We used vinyl this time instead of spray paint or Plasti-Dip. We cut it to size, peeled off the sticker, sprayed the tank down, and applied it carefully. We used an old gift card to squeeze out all the air bubbles and trimmed it down to size with a razor. Since we've never used vinyl before, it took us a few tries, but it resulted in an overall clean and professional look. Hopefully, as we get more practice with it, we can do it more quickly. If not, we'll go back to some of our other methods.
Now we're ready to add our substrate and plant. We're using a mixture of Refusoil and sphagnum moss, adding it to all of our elevated plant pots. This will give us a nutrient-rich substrate that retains moisture well and allows the crabs to burrow.
For plants, we've got an amazing mix. We're starting out with some rabbit's foot fern, one of our favorites, and we'll plant it here on the right side.
Next up, we've got some red vein Fittonia. We wanted to work with a few plants that have a really distinctive red and purple color to complement the vampire crabs. We're planting this in the upper right, wedging in some sphagnum moss along the wall. We planted a cutting of purple Tradescantia along the background here. This will end up climbing along the cork background. For another splash of bright red, we have this small cutting of Peperomia. Isn't it incredible? We're adding it near the rabbit's foot fern and we'll let it trail along the tank. For additional wall cover, we're using some small cuttings of oak leaf creeping fig spread around the tank. Hopefully these will take off and form a dense leafy carpet on parts of the walls.
If you're curious about how we pick our plants or where you can find good vivarium plants at places like garden centers and hardware stores, check out our video on plant selection. It'll be linked down below and up above.
We're going to take a break from planting to add in our moss. We're wedging our sheet moss in the cracks and crevices and laying it along platforms along the background. The cork walls are going to provide a great moist growing medium for it.
We're also attaching it in a few places on our ghostwood branches. The ghostwood soaks up moisture from the waterfall, so the moss should be very happy. We tie it down with cotton thread, which should break down over time as the moss attaches to the wood.
Along the waterfall, we add some aquatic Christmas moss. It's going to love the mix of constant water flow and access to CO2 in the air and cover the waterfall in no time. We also added a teeny bit on the cork log that lays beneath the water.
With the moss in place, we're going to return to planting. We're adding another fern in the upper left to shade a nice large soil area for the crabs.
The final star for our plants is the Nepenthes pitcher plant. These carnivorous plants can feed on insects and other small critters. They have a stunning, almost purplish picture that is going to look so cool in this tank. In the wild, some species of vampire crab even have a symbiotic relationship with some Nepenthes, stealing food from their pitchers. In our case, we went with a small plant just to make sure that the crabs are safe from the pitchers. Even if they don't engage in any symbiotic behavior here, it's a fun detail to have, and it adds a cool biotope element to this tank.
We filled the bottom of the tank with some aquarium sand for substrate, then sprinkled in some more lava rock chunks. For plants, we're using some small cuttings of Anubias and Bucephalandra. These epiphytic aquatic plants will grow with their roots along the cork bark and lava rock beneath the water, extracting nutrients directly from the water. We also planted some small microswords along the right side, and these will spread a bit in the sand, giving an underwater jungle for the crabs to root around in.
Finally, we're adding some floating plants along the surface of the water, including Salvinia minima and duckweed. Floating plants are king when it comes to nutrient extraction. They'll suck up any excess nutrients that come from overfeeding or the crab's waste, which will help to prevent algae and other aquatic issues.
For the cleanup crew on land, we added springtails all over. These small insects will live in the substrate and along the wood, breaking down animal waste and excess food, helping it turn into a nutrient-dense soil that the plants and mosses can use to spread.
Now we're ready to add an Automister. We added one nozzle in the upper front left corner with aquarium tubing that runs along the roof and out the back. We use zip ties to secure the aquarium tubing and nozzle to the lid of the tank. This nozzle will point towards the back and right sides of the tank. The left side is going to be watered enough by the waterfall, and in a tank this small, we'd rather keep the mister low profile and stick with just one nozzle. A quick test showed that the mister soaks the entire tank, simulating a morning dew or a solid rainstorm. This misting will be triggered a few times a day.
And with that, the tank is ready to be delivered. We drain the water, then stuff the bottom portion of the tank with paper towels. This will stop anything from shifting around during transit. We carefully lowered the tank into a cardboard box with some foam to protect it during the transport. Our friend Hannah was staying with us, so of course we had to put her to work helping us carry things. Thanks, Hannah.
Tangled Earth Vivarium. Hi, are you interested in a vivarium? Well, boy do we have a deal for you. Call this number right now.
We got it loaded up in the car and made our delivery. Our client wanted the tank right on his work desk, so we laid it down gently next to his monitor. We used a gallon jug as the reservoir for the Automister, poking a hole in the lid with a pair of scissors and running the aquarium tubing for the Automister intake through. Then we put the lid back on. This jug is going to sit below his desk and it can be refilled every few weeks. We got the paper towels out and filled up the tank. This part is always a little scary after transport, but we moved the tanks very carefully. And sure enough, no leaks. Time for us to get a little crab in there. He was shy, but grateful to be out of his temporary enclosure and into his new home. The client is ordering him some friends soon, so we'll include some clips he sent us at the end.
And that's enough yapping. It's time for some cinematic shots. This setup mimics their natural jungle stream environment. Lots of humidity, plenty of foliage to hide in, and shallow water for them to hunt in. They'll use the entire tank, climbing the hardscape, and sometimes even chilling under the waterfall.
Thank you guys so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more videos like this one.
Drop a crab emoji in the comments if you made it this far. And if you have any questions, don't forget to leave them below.
If you're in the Bay Area and you want to commission a tank of your own like this one, feel free to shoot us an email. We'll see you guys in the next one.
Bye!